As we go into chapter 3, we have to do a little more analysis on our parts and decide where we're going to start our sketch and what we can do to generate the geometry. So for this piece, if I were to draw on the front plane and do kind of this T shape and then extrude back, then I would have the 3 holes and the notch. If I go for the top plane, I can draw the three holes. The notch geometry could be in there, but probably not. We have to kind of decide how we want to make this approach and what it's going to do for us. If we know what it's going to do in the assembly, we can also kind of pick a direction based on that. The other item would be, do we want to stay with the origin at the corner, put the origin at the middle? Those are all good thought processes. And at the end of those questions, we pick one and we go with it and we see how it works out. All right, so I'll fly this one out and we'll get started on P3-10. So this is a metric. And I'll go ahead and make sure that my work area is expanded out. And on the front plane, oh, I already slipped into wanting to do the front plane. On the top plane, we'll do the sketch. And if I'm going to go with the circle at the center, I can go ahead and put in the 30 millimeter. And then that gives us a place to start. All right, the 2 on either side can be, I want to say they should be symmetrical, but our dimension is 13 off of the edge from both sides. So we'll have to see how that plays out. All right, so our dimension here is for 20. If I go close to the circle, I'm going to get that linear. If I move away a little bit, I'll get the diametral. And then if I right click, I can choose between linear, diametral, or radial. So 20. And then right clicking and going into the select, I can pick the circle, hold down the control button, pick the other circle, and we're going to make those equal. All right, so this is a good place to look at our different rectangles. We have a center rectangle, and on the center rectangle, do I want to go from corners or midpoints? The midpoint should work out okay. We're going to get that geometry, and we'll apply the dimensions. So picking on the origin and dragging that away creates our rectangle centered on the origin. So 100 millimeters that way and 50 millimeters the other way. All right. One we haven't done, we'll give it a try. Not something that I do very often. Usually I would just drag this in. But as we place this, I know that I can go 13. And we have this little button that reverses the sense. This is one of about 2 or 3 places you'll see negative numbers. And it'll only be negative temporarily. As soon as I apply it, it goes back to, might as well consider it an absolute value that it's applying there. So one more time, if I pick the line, pick the circle, place the dimension, enter the value, and I didn't click the box. So double clicking on the dimension, then I can reverse and we can go ahead and accept. All right, so that negative sign will be there initially. As soon as it places it, it is back to being a positive. All right, so I'm still got 2 blue circles. If I grab the circle, it doesn't really move. If I grab the center point, it moves up and down. So this would be a place where I want to do that drag until it snaps, and it shows me the little yellow box that's going to be coincident. We can do the same thing over here. All right, so what I don't have in my geometry is the lines for the steps. All right, and that line is, let's see, that's the notch. It's going to be 40 millimeters. So I can go ahead and select, control select, and then mirror, and then apply between the two objects the 40 millimeters. All right, so that gives me enough geometry to get started. And then this assumes, as well, we have to use the contours and regions to make all of these individual regions work. So when I go into the features and extrude boss base, then initially I will pick all three. And there is better ways to do this, looking at it, but this gives us a start. So 15 millimeters. And then I can go to the sketch, go back into the extrude, pick the next two, or at least the next one, because it would add it in. But since I'm there, we'll go ahead, and a positive into a positive is just a positive as long as the merge result box is checked. Okay, if that wasn't, then we would end up with overlapping solid bodies and be able to go through. So if I pick both of those, it doesn't help, it doesn't hurt. If I just pick the one and either hit tab or select, then it does the update of the preview, and yeah, that looks pretty good. One more into the extrude, we'll pick the center section, and that one goes to 50, and it will merge the result as well. All right, so one thing I do want to point out with these regions is that the holes being on different planes, I can do a projection. So if I wanted to, I could go back into the to the sketch, add that to the mix. Oh, I guess I got to be in the feature. There we go. Make sure that I'm picking for that item, and that will make it solid. And one more time over here. And we pick, and except I picked the wrong one. We'll leave that one. All right, so if I go that route, then I could put the circle, or we can show the sketch, and I could potentially do a hole wizard for that, picking a simple hole, make sure it's ANSI metric. I don't necessarily want it to be a dowel. Well, that puts the dowel symbol into the drawing, which unless it is a reamed or a tight toleranced hole, it doesn't really help us. All right, so is it 15 or 20? No, it was 20. All right, so keep going. There's a pretty big list here. And then up to next, and the position. All right, so just as an example, if we wanted to have a different set of controls, the other thing that I could do is turn these circles into construction. I would still have them for reference. All right, so again, too many options to go through all of them, but be thinking about different strategies that you could use. All right, so we'll go ahead and leave that. When I'm done, I'm going to right click and hide the sketch, and that leaves opening up a sketch on the front. We'll go back into the corner rectangle, and I will pick the top edge. Right click and go into select or hit escape on the keyboard. And then here's where it gets interesting. We're going to select the midpoint of the line, and then the top edge, and we're going to apply a midpoint relation to that geometry. Right, so that line goes black for being defined. So once again, right click, select midpoint, hold down the control button, select the top edge, and then apply the midpoint relation. Our dimension is 20 and 15 deep. And then this is just going to extrude cut. I might as well just do up to next. So it's showing me a blind in condition. Through all, pretty much the same as blind with that depth. Up to next finds the next intersecting geometry, and we call that good. So let's save this. Okay, we're going to navigate to our project folders, and then I'm going to create a new folder for assignment 3. And this is going to be named P3-10. Now, when I do this on the screen, this sometimes gets skewed. So I'm going to double check, and then we'll put some initials on the end of it and save. All right. So for the next video, we'll create a drawing for this part.